Good afternoon. Yesterday was Mr. Fiddler's good friend Leonard's 98th birthday. He lives in Reading, PA, Mr. Fiddler's hometown, so we decided it would be a good excuse to go visit and pass through the old neighborhoods. It was a trip down memory lane. We spent the morning at Leonard's home, catching up, and then took him to lunch. We stopped at the cemetery and laid red roses at the graves of his parents, brother Ray, and sister-in-law Eva. In the afternoon, we drove around downtown Reading and visited all the houses Mr. Fiddler once called home, including the house he was born in. Today, I want to explore and share what it was like for Mr. Fiddler to grow up in a small town in Pennsylvania during the Great Depression. Mr. Fiddler, I understand you have a very unusual birth story. Can you tell our listeners about the day you arrived?
I was a complete surprise to my mother and father when I was born March 2nd, 1925, at our home on West Windsor Street in Reading, Pennsylvania. My mother was 42 years old and taking change of life medication. Since she was only 5'2" tall and weighed 200 pounds, she was sort of short and plump, and she didn't even show as pregnant, nor did she realize she was pregnant.
Oh, boy.
It was 8 o'clock in the morning, a bitter cold morning, and the snow was pretty deep, and the doctor parked his car 3 blocks away and walked to our house. A short time later, the doctor came out of my mother's bedroom and told my father, "Congratulations, you have a new baby boy." Everyone was surprised, including my 7-year-old brother, Raymond, who was next door at Showalter's store while the doctor visited. I've always been laid back, and I guess I also was lucky, as my story will tell.
You are certainly a lucky man, I'll say. Wow. I'm really amazed that your mom didn't realize she was pregnant with you.
Well, I guess that's because I was always so laid back, and she never felt or knew that I was there.
It's really amazing. I mean, with the technology we have these days, it's almost unheard of. But back then, I'm sure it was a reality for more than one woman.
I imagine so.
And your brother was 7 years old. That might have come as a little bit of a shock to him to have some competition for attention.
Yeah, I imagine it would, but I don't think it bothered him. And he was good to have her on. Later on, he was a big help during the Depression. Sometimes he was the only one working in our family.
Well, we'll talk about your relationship with Raymond in another episode or a little later in this one. But can you tell me what it was like to grow up as a child in the Great Depression or in your neighborhood? Did you have a lot of kids to play with?
Yeah, there were a lot of children in our neighborhood, and we were always, during the day, most of us were always out playing. And fortunately, there was a nice playground only 2 blocks away.
Is this Bear Park, the one that you took me to yesterday?
Yeah, that's Bear Park.
What would you, yeah.
I spent my whole day there most of the time. I'd eat breakfast and I'd run over there, and the ladies that were park guards that told us what to do. I always helped them put the swings up.
What did that entail?
Well, they had a big swing thing that held about a half a dozen swings, and all the chains had to be hooked up at the top, and not everybody could climb up there and hook them up, so they found that I could do it, and they expected me to do it most of the time.
Oh, that's a riot. You were working to play at that park.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Did you have friends that would meet you at Bear Park?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and later on, they had 3 baseball diamonds, and a lot of times we'd play softball quite a bit. We'd form teams and play out quite a bit then.
Now, you pointed out to me a pretty big boulder, big rock right on the outskirts of the park. What would you play over there?
We often played cowboys and Indians, and we even made homemade guns with pieces of wood and a half a clothespin. We'd make rubber strips from an old automobile
Tire.
Yeah, and we'd use that to hold the pin on the back, and then we put a nail on the bottom, and it was like when you pulled the pin, you had another big piece of rubber stuck in there at the top, went all the way to the front, stretched
Like a rubber band almost.
Yeah, and then when I pull the
trigger,
it would go flying.
Oh, man, that sounds like some good old-fashioned fun.
And we played cowboys, and that big rock, a lot of times that's where we used to hide and climb up there, and they couldn't find you sometimes.
Wow, that sounds pretty different than the way kids play today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we weren't watching television or anything
or
like
playing
that.
Video games on the TV. You were outside getting your hands dirty.
Yeah. Thing we used to do, we'd make, I forget what we called them, but they were like homemade scooters. We took a box and we put a board on the bottom, and in the front and the back we put a half a skate. We take the skates in half, nail it on the front and back so they had wheels on. And then we put a board across the top for
handlebars,
and we could ride around. We did that a lot too.
Wow, it sounds like you guys made your own fun, quite literally.
Yeah, and then we lived near the Schuylkill Avenue Bridge, and we played down there underneath there. The bridge had a road went down both sides of the bridge and under the bridge, and it went down along the railroad. And in the wintertime, we used sleds and going down those hills. In fact, the city would actually block it off so the kids could play there and no cars could go on.
No way. I'm so surprised by that.
Yeah, and in the summertime, where the road went down and under the bridge, we could play ball under there while it was raining.
And didn't you tell me that you would go sledding down a certain hill and someone would have to keep watch at the bottom?
Oh yeah, there was a big hill, and it really went steep down. And at the bottom, there's a trolley would go by there. And when you get down on a sled, there was no stopping at the bottom, so we had somebody standing there to make sure the trolley wasn't coming when we came down.
Oh my, well, it would have been a close one if nobody was keeping watch.
Yeah, and not only that, when we came down, since we couldn't stop, it went right across the trolley track and kept going and down an embankment to a playground over there. It was quite a ride.
I'll say, it sounds like one.
And then, when we took the sled down along the side of the bridge, we could go down underneath the bridge and follow the road down there, down the hill, and it ended up down to the train tracks where the train would stop to let passengers off sometimes.
Oh.
It was quite a ride there, too.
Oh, my goodness. Sounds like you'd pick up some serious speed and go the distance.
Oh, boy. We could.
Now, I know you were a pretty good boy, but I've also been told that you could get into some mischief.
Mischief, what's that?
Isn't it your middle name? Do you want to share with our listeners some of the not so smart ideas or daredevil attempts that you did with some of your friends?
Well, the one, I guess you could call him a friend. The one boy that I grew up with, we were real little when I first met him. His mother used to come to my house to talk to my mother, and she'd bring him along, and then sometimes we'd play. And they lived a half a block away. He lived with their grandparents. And there was just a small road between. And I'd go up there when I was a little boy, and I wasn't allowed to cross the street myself. And they always called him Junior. He had the same name as his father. And I'd come up there and I'd stand there and I'd yell, "Junior, come over and play with me."
Dooner with a D.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But then as we got older, it seemed like he was always getting me in trouble. And one time, later on, as we got bigger, we used to cross the bridge.
Was it the Button?
Huh?
The Button Street Bridge?
No, that's Schuylkill Avenue Bridge. That was right near where I lived there.
Okay.
Where we went sledding and everything.
Okay.
We used to cross that, and at the end, there was a field down there, a bunch of trees and everything, where we used to go over and play sometimes. And one time we had been over there, and then when we come back, instead of just walking back on the bridge, he said, "Why don't we climb up here and get on the
railing?
The railing, the cement railing." And I said, "Okay." And we did that. And we walked all the way across the river, across the railroad track. And unfortunately, where my house was, my mother was in the kitchen looking out the window, and she could see the bridge. And she seen me doing that. And when I got home, things weren't too good.
Oh, man, I'm sure she was not happy with you. That was a time that you weren't so lucky.
Yeah. There was another time I wasn't so lucky either. Well, I guess I was really lucky. One time I had found a gun up in our attic. And I noticed it, and one time I was talking to Junior about it, and he said, "Why don't you get it, and we'll take it over here, and we'll set up cans and shoot at it."
The little target practice.
Yeah. So I took it, and we went over there, and he got bullets for it. And actually, I didn't know it, but the pistol, was just one of these starting pictures.
Like when a race starts, and they fire the shots at the beginning of a race, it was just a starting gun.
Yeah. Anyway, he brought along some 22s, and they actually fit in there. And so he set up cans on a thing that we could shoot at. And I was the first one to try it. And I fired it, and the back of the shell hit me right here.
Square in the forehead. He's pointing out his forehead, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. And that was we quit right there.
Wow.
Before we killed ourselves.
Oh my goodness. You know, when you read about kids finding guns in the attics and in the closets and the horrible things that happen, man.
And I don't think I ever told my parents about it.
Well, I can't blame you. I'm surprised you didn't take that one to the grave.
I put it back right where I found it.
Oh, man. I can't even imagine.
Is that enough trouble for a while?
Oh, that sounds like enough trouble for a lifetime. Are there any other kids that you played with?
Yeah, there was another boy who used to come visit my neighbor. His name was Freddie, and he just came for the summer to play there. And he was their grandson. And the the people that lived there, the father was delivered ice, and also in the winter time he picked up ashes and things like that.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that? I don't think anyone knows of like an Iceman or a cinder collector.
Yeah, back then they didn't have electric refrigerators. They just had refrigerators that they put ice in the top. And so every day they would deliver ice. And then they had this big truck that they used. And they used to park it about half a block away. It was up in that little street next to where Neville Miller lived, but it was on a hill. And Freddie and I were playing one time, and we decided to play on the truck. And
where was the Iceman when you decided to play on his truck?
Probably sleeping. And so we were playing on there, you know, like we were driving and everything. And I don't know if it was accidental or not, but we released the brake.
Oh my. And you said you were parked on a hill.
Yeah.
You released the brake while parked on a hill.
Yeah. And we started going down the hill.
You probably didn't even need to press the accelerator.
Oh, no. But fortunately, I steered it. And I had a choice. If we went straight, we'd have probably went straight down our bank to the railroad. But right to the right, there was a big open field. And I was able to turn it so it ran in there and stopped. So, again, I was lucky.
Yeah, but what happened after? Did you hear about it?
Yeah, I think we were told we better not do that again.
Yeah, better not do that again. Oh, sounds like you were just...
Loads of fun.
Loads of fun. Yeah, you got the right words for that. Loads of fun and fearless. Wow. Yeah, those trump all of my childhood stories, I'll say. So we've been talking a lot about your free time and the fun you would have, but what about the hard work? What was school like back then?
Well, I went to grade school, and grade school was about 4 blocks from where I lived, and I used to have to walk back and forth every day.
And you showed me the site of the grade school when we were there yesterday, right?
Yeah,
it's where the Getty Mart is now.
I showed you where it used to be.
Yeah, the school building is now a Getty Mart.
But
so you would walk back and forth?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were there, they'd always let us out for recess, and they'd march us out. And there was a little lot around the side where we played. for a while, and then they'd march us back in. And one day, as they were marching us back in, just as we walked in the door, the ceiling fell down.
Oh my goodness! When you children were walking in.
Yeah, and it hit me on the head and the boy in front of me, and it must have hit him the hardest because a week later he died.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
You don't really hear of casualties like that in the school building.
No. So.
But that was a different time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And to think he was just one person in front of you.
Always lucky.
Always lucky. I'll be damned. Always lucky.